Welcome to Just Asia, AHRC TV's weekly human rights program. These are the headlines. Indonesia's anti-terror unit should be dissolved. Nepal's Prime Minister oversteps jurisdiction. Thai murder witness attacked. Pakistani Christians forced to live in illegal settlements. Release of student protesters in Burma. Urgent appeals from Pakistan and the Philippines. Welcome to AHRC TV's Just Asia. I am Julia Roblando. Beginning with Indonesia, a public protest called for the dissolution of the Densus 88, Indonesia's anti-terror police unit. The protest followed the death of Mr. Siyono, who died one day after being arrested by the police unit on March 30th. After his controversial death, police officers came to Siyono's home and gave his wife 100 million rupiah as compensation. According to the police, Siyono died in a fight against Densus personnel. Siyono's wife took the money to Muhammadiyah, the second largest Muslim organization in Indonesia, and asked them to conduct an autopsy. Muhammadiyah organized independent doctors for the autopsy and invited Indonesia's National Commission on Human Rights to monitor the process. The chief of national police was also informed. The autopsy reveals that the police lied regarding Siyono's death. Siyono was hit by a blunt object, resulting in 5 ribs on the left side and 1 on the right side being broken. One of the bones pierced his heart, which led to his death. Another wound was found on Siyono's head. The autopsy result announcement was covered by many national media and supported by public protests demanding the evaluation and dissolution of the Densus 88.
Terduga teroris yang telah dibunuh secara zalim oleh Densus 88 laknatullah alaihim secara tidak manusiawi dan bahkan terkesan tidak bertanggung jawab. Maka kami dari berbagai macam ormas Islam yang tergabung dalam gerakan umat Islam Nusantara ingin menyampaikan support atau dukungan secara khusus kepada Syahid Siyono insyaallah yang telah dizalimi oleh kekejaman dan kezaliman Densus laknatullah alaihim. Demikian juga kami melakukan dukungan kepada para mujahidin muwahhidin yang memiliki nasib yang sama sebagaimana nasib yang menimpa Siyono yang telah dizalimi dan terkesan tidak bertanggung jawab dari institusi tersebut yaitu Densus 88.
Moving to Nepal. On April 3rd, Nepalese Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli summoned the National Human Rights Commission chairperson Anupraj Sharma, Commissioner Mohna Ansari, and other members seeking clarification on Ansari's statement during the March Universal Periodic Review session held in Geneva. The NHRC is a constitutional body guaranteed autonomy and independence to oversee the country's human rights issues and make necessary recommendations to the government when the Commission's members are called by the Prime Minister's office for questioning and clarification over its independent activities. It is an absolute breach of jurisdiction as provided by the Constitution. Such interference by the government can only weaken the basic principles of separation of power and rule of law, which are a must for the proper functioning of a democratic system. In Thailand, murder witness and land rights defender Mr. Supoj Kansong was shot 8 times by an unidentified gunman on April 8th. Mr. Kansong was a witness to the assassination of Mr. Chai Bontonglek, a member of the Southern Peasants Federation of Thailand, in Klong Sai Patana community, southern Thailand on 11 February 2015. On 15 March 2016, the Wangsara Provincial Court acquitted the single defendant charged with involvement in Mr. Bontonglek's assassination. The perpetrators are therefore free to commit further killings. The attack on Mr. Kansong is now the 5th attempt made on the rights defender of the Khongsai Patana community. Apart from intimidating human rights defenders, the shooting of Mr. Kansong is also an attempt to interfere with the justice process. Shot as he was driving back to the village at around 3 p.m., Mr. Kansong was hit 6 times in the leg and twice in the arm. His condition is being medically assessed at the Kaiburi Hospital. Pakistan's Christian minority largely live in illegal settlements and are forced to work in cleaning and sanitation occupations. Apart from the challenges they face in accessing clean water, food, and electricity, the residents of these illegal settlements are now also facing threats from the land mafia. Wealthy land developers are attempting to evict them as they have no ownership rights. Just Asia speaks to Asif Akil to learn more.
A large number of Pakistani Christians are socially and politically forced into doing most menial and degrading jobs. They work as bonded laborers in brick kilns, wash cars, sweep roads, pick up garbage, and clean sewerage drains. Their plight owes to the Indian society, which has over centuries been stratified into various castes, and Pakistan is no exception. Most of Pakistani Punjabi Christians trace their ancestry in a downtrodden caste. Traditionally, caste is an ascribed status which prescribes every aspect of life, including choosing an occupation. The lowest of the low in this social stratification were the untouchables. They were destined to live outside the village. They could not buy land or own any property. Moreover, they were not allowed to attain education and were perpetually destined to work most degrading and humiliating occupations. From 1870s to 1920s, a whole tribe of untouchables converted to Christianity in the central Punjab. These converts as peasants were dependent for their livelihood on Sikh agricultural landlords. After partition of the Indian subcontinent in 1947, these Sikhs migrated to India and their land was distributed among Muslim migrants who were coming from there. Resultantly, these Christian peasants became homeless and jobless. The total number of these internally displaced Christians was no less than 300,000, which accounted for more than 2/3 of their total population in early 50s. Over the years, these poor, illiterate, and unskilled Christians were pushed into cities where their economic status and origins in an untouchable caste destined them to work as janitors and sweepers. Having no place to live on, these people made makeshift houses on government land along sewerage drains. These small pockets slowly turned into their permanent residence. Today, despite being only 1.5% of the total Pakistani population, Christians have more than 80% representation in the janitorial workforce. Moreover, in recent years, both the land mafia and the state have been trying to dispossess these Christians from their homes. At least in 3 instances, the pretext of blasphemy has been used to drive them out of their settlements. There are more than 40 such settlements in the capital, Islamabad. Most of these settlements are inhabited by these poor Punjabi Christians. The Capital Development Authority has declared these colonies as ugly patches on the scenic landscape of Islamabad, and it started demolishing them last year. The authority has also declared that the Christian population is a threat to the numerical superiority of Muslims in the capital city. Since the creation of Pakistan, Christian leaders and politicians have been voicing against this gross injustice. The government in early days made promise to allocate land to these landless peasants, but it never honored its commitment. At the societal level, these Christians are faced with inhumane prejudices of untouchability, while at the state level, they are suffering apathy and indifference. The government must come up with a policy for economic and social well-being of these marginalized people by providing them ownership rights to these settlements and opportunities to decent occupation.
Burma saw the release of student protesters from Tharawadi prison on April 8th. Charges against them and their supporters were also dismissed. Most of them were arrested last year during their protest calling for amendment of the education law. Police brutally cracked down on the peaceful protest, and many protesters were detained in prison for over a year while facing trial. Burma State Consular Office issued a statement dated on April 7 concerning the intended release of student protesters and political prisoners. More political prisoners will be released after the New Year holiday under an amnesty. Aung San Suu Kyi became the State Consular of Myanmar on April 6th, allowing a greater role for her within the NLD-led government. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, 114 political prisoners were released on Friday, April 8. 121 prisoners are still behind bars, while 414 are facing trial, but there may be more outside of those figures. Finally, the Urgent Appeals Weekly features two stories from Pakistan and the Philippines. A 14-year-old girl was gang raped in Pakistan by influential persons from a political party, and the matter was settled with 1,200 kilograms of wheat as compensation by an illegal jirga. The girl's father said that he had no choice but to accept the compensation, as the rapists were influential persons and he is simply a peasant. Following the media attention, one of the perpetrators was arrested, while the other remains at large. The police have taken no action against those conducting the illegal jirga, however. From the Philippines, a forwarded urgent appeal reports on how farmers demanding drought assistance and relief funds receive harassment and brutality from the police and army in North Cotabato. The violent dispersal of protesting farmers left 2 persons dead and 37 others hurt. Many of the farmers have been detained. Together with the Karapatan Alliance for Advancement of People's Rights in the Philippines, the Asian Human Rights Commission strongly denounces the actions of the state security forces. That is all for this episode of Just Asia. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.